this live chat. Today I'm going to be speaking to Olivia. She's based in Bali in Indonesia, and we get our cacao, our ceremonial grade cacao through her. She works for a very small company there and has a direct relationship with the farming communities, the cacao growing communities. And she's also our translator when we go to Bali. She comes with to the farms. And so we've known her for some time now. And when I go there once a year, I always go visit her. So Olivia, if you are on now, please request to join. And hello everybody joining the live. We have already tried this twice. So let's see if we have third time lucky. Conversation. Right. Just waiting for Olivia to get on. So the chat today is around the global crisis with the cacao industry. Olivia is going to be talking to us specifically about the Indonesian context, but this is pretty much carbon copy for the rest of the world at the moment. What this means is that production rate is lowering and prices will therefore increase. So Olivia, I see you on. Welcome. You can just hit that button again, the request to join button, and then I'll get a notification. Thank you. There we go. And let's see if this works now. Welcome everybody that's joining us live. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not letting us go live. I'm going to also just send you a request from my side, which I have. Let's see if I cancel that one, accept your one again. Oh, Instagram, you're not making our life easy today. Olivia, I'm going to ask you to please cancel that request. Start again. Oh, there you are. Sister. Hi, Olivia.
So somehow
we're on.
I cannot use my laptop. I don't understand why. So I will just my.
Yeah, you can only use your phone for lives.
Okay.
Sorry, didn't mention it to you previously. But here we are.
Sure.
Here we are. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I know it is a Friday and it's the afternoon going into the evening for you for the weekend. So thank you so much for putting this time aside.
Thank you.
For everybody that doesn't know you, I've just given a brief introduction, but perhaps you could just give us a minute or two sharing who you are and what your role is in the cacao space.
So basically, hello everyone. My name is Olivia. I'm from Ubud Chocolate in Bali. I'm a co-owner, also the general manager, and basically do everything, including like sourcing your cacao, making your cacao, the one that we send to Cape Cacao. So I will say that's a little bit introduction about me.
As well as dealing with all your clients and your customers.
Sure.
Thanks. So I also was mentioning before you came on the call that when I come and visit once a year, we go to the farms, and it's a different farm we visit each time, but then we always go to the co-op, the cooperative, and you do an amazing job of being the translator. So that's just been a really special, it's like a highlight of my year. So I look forward to seeing you again this year in August. So perhaps we could just start with talking about what ceremonial grade cacao actually is, and then we're going to get into the rest of the conversation. So just from your understanding and your description in Bali, what is ceremonial grade cacao?
So I will say, like, if people asking what is ceremonial cacao or what I said, what is ceremonial grade cacao, it's basically 100% pure cacao that we process like minimal process, so it's nothing add or nothing reduced from the cacao. But I will always say like Bali is really special because like Bali is like island of the god, and we do devotion or like praying all the time. So even for our farmers, like before they start to do their daily activity, not only the farmers, also with all of our team in here, like they always like the first thing that they do is actually praying and like giving gratitude. So like even in Bali we have a special day for ceremonies for the farm called like tumpak landap, tumpak udo, sorry, or tumpak wariga, and that's actually a devotion that we do for the land. So that's why we think like, okay, cacao from Bali especially is very ceremonial, because like what we do here, it's full of ceremonies. But regarding the cacao itself, yes, it's just like 100% cacao, and then like we buy directly from the farmer the beans. So it's not only fair price, I will say, because it's like a direct rate, and the farmer decide whatever the price that they want. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah, and I just also want to highlight, because I've been there a few times now, and I can vouch for the fact that there is relationship, and this is such an important topic nowadays with the commercial industry versus the artisanal industry, and then the ceremonial space as well, which is quite niche, and that there is a direct relationship that you have with all the people involved, your staff, of course, but then also the cooperative, and that there's a direct relationship with them. And then when they come and have their beans weighed and get paid out, and just that relationship that I saw when we've been visiting the farms and the farmers, it really is community orientated, and yeah, it's something that is lacking in those bigger spaces, in the bigger commercial industry. So,
like I can say, like if you want to know where your cacao grow or who's actually growing it, like we can trust everyone, because like from the farmer, the processor, like the people who do the fermentation and everything, we know all of them.
yeah, and that's a fascinating part as well. So yeah, anyways, I'm just so excited to come back and visit, but let's stay on topic. So I remember when I visited last year, we were already talking about the climate crisis, and just the increase in the pests and diseases on the cacao fruits, and also the change in climate, which meant there was a bit more moisture for longer, a bit more rain, things couldn't dry out, they were going moldy. And we started to see these signs already, not just last year, but the year before. And you have a lot more knowledge than I do on that. And now we're sitting in a situation where there's just less production, and this means there's still the same demand, of course, so the prices are going to increase. So could you just give your knowledge from the last few years, kind of building up to where we are now and the current situation?
So like I will say, like since the last 3 years, probably in Indonesia, especially Bali, we have a problem with the harvest. We already see how the climate actually affecting the cacao, because like we cannot predict weather anymore. So what should be a rainy season is suddenly very dry. What should be a dry season is suddenly very rainy. So it's impacting in disease of the cacao. So even from the last 3 years, actually cacao production in Indonesia is already going down. I will say around 50% going down. But what happened with the world cacao right now is actually because it's not only Indonesia, like Africa, which is the biggest supplier of cacao beans, also have a failed harvest. So there's just like not enough stock, and the demand is increased. Demand is never the same. The demand is actually increased every year. So it's just like enough stock for all of us, and that's create a crazy high price, because like people try to fulfill their needs of the cacao, so they try like every beans that they can have in a smaller country like Indonesia, one of it, India, Thailand, Vietnam, and the other Asia and Central America area. So I will say that's like the global kind of point of view, probably. How you say it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've been following a few other countries and sources in other countries, and it's exactly the same thing. Like you say, the unpredictability of the climate just means you can't predict the harvest, and then the harvest is quite erratic. I know some people have been doing quite a bit of research on this already the last few years, and just noticing that the trees are actually putting out a lot of fruit all in one time, but it's not predictable, and this is a sign of stress. Because if they're doing that, it means they're thinking that it's the last time that they're going to be able to put out fruit. So they go into the state of stress and they just overproduce, but that also depletes them, and so they don't necessarily, have a harvest the next year or even the next year. And sometimes those trees die completely. So I just want to, Olivia, thank you for giving the context of that globally, but specifically now in Indonesia as well. What are some of the specific problems? So obviously there's, due to the climate being a little bit more erratic, not being able to predict the harvest season. So what are some of the pests? Can you speak specifically to that, or some of the like mold issues, or just some more specifics around the issues?
Regarding the disease, you mean?
Yeah.
So right now, like, because for example, here, like, the rainy season is not really raining, but rain, it's suddenly kind of like a tornado come. So it's like heavily. So it's actually a problem with the fruit. Like all the fruit become like a black pot. How, like, do you understand about it or not? So it's like the fruit become black and it's actually rotten. When it's supposed to be a raining season, we have a dry condition, so the fruit become dry. It's not become a fruit anymore. It's just dry and fall off. So that's the main condition right now in Indonesia. And with raining unpredictable like this, it's not only when it's grow, actually when processing it, it's become a problem, because like when you do the fermentation, you need to have like a certain temperature, right? Like a constant temperature raising, and you need to rotate it when it's reached certain temperature. It's very difficult to keep the temperature consistent. Also with drying, like usually because we dry under the sun, then it's usually take around like 5-7 days maximum. Now, like one of our farmer in Papua, he said in Papua, for example, it's raining almost a month, so they cannot do it all. Like the beans become moldy because there's no snow. So it's actually a really big problem.
Sure. So it's diseases on the fruit to start, and then when the fruit do actually make it to fermentation, those that do, then there's an issue there because of the temperature that can't be as controlled as before, and the moisture, and then the beans as well with the drying process. So there's actually 3 stages already where there can be some problems.
So even when we said, okay, we finally have a good harvest, but then probably because there's so many rain, the fruit not exactly the same quality that we want. It's like too watery or things like that. So it's also create a different in flavor, and then can also become like a problematic, because like we are still very traditional in here. We don't have like fermentation or drying processing factory that close or things like that. Is pretty much very open and traditional. So whatever happen in the weather, it's really impacting all of our process.
All right. Okay, so that means that we are getting less, excuse me, less cacao beans out per season, per harvest, or whenever the harvest is. And there's still the same demand. You actually said there's even more demand. So how are you addressing that issue now? Because like Cape Cacao, there's other people that have been buying from you for many years. How are you addressing that problem?
So I try to actually looking at my capacity right now. So I try my best to fulfill the order for our long relation partnership. But like if you're asking me to open to a new market, like I cannot with the situation right now.
Yeah. And then also I know, because we've been chatting for some time already, that the price is going to increase with your long-standing relationship clients.
Yes, like right now the price of like if you see and the commodity price is already very crazy. Like I think it's now already 9,700 USD per ton. Even before I see it's reached 10,000, which is like, oh my god, that's so high, right? And it's actually impacting the price in Indonesia, because like Indonesia still like industrial, they still following the commodity price, right? So if the industrial buy the cacao beans based on the commodity price, we are a chocolate maker, we also need to pay slightly same, because like if it's the same, then it's unfermented cacao beans. So for
Mm-hmm.
the value of the farmer, we're actually still paying higher than the commodity price at the
Yes.
world, right? And it's
Yes. Yes.
300 times, I think, or even more.
Okay. I was going to ask you because you gave the figure now in USD, but that was for this year per ton. What was it? Can you remember last year or the previous year?
The previous year, like if I remember correctly, like I think early 2023, it's still around 2000 something per ton. And then like in the middle of 2023, it's become like 3000. And then it start to go to 4000. So in even in early 2024, it's still 4000 per ton. And then suddenly in the view of months jumped to like 9000 something.
That is crazy. Okay, that's even more than I read yesterday. I read a statistic saying that the prices have increased 200% in the last year. But what you're saying now, it's even more.
It's already 300 times more.
Yeah. Maybe 300 times more. Wow. Okay. So what this means then globally for everyone, for every consumer, whether it's from the commercial space or the artisanal space, there is going to be an increase, and the consumer must just be aware of that and perhaps just be a little bit more discerning, because obviously with more demand, less availability, there are going to be people out there, not you, but there are going to be people and corporations out there that are going to get greedy and are going to try and buy everybody out. So it's already that's already happening. Do you want to just give a little bit of information on that?
Because like if we talking about the price, if the price high and the quality is good, it's nice, right? But the situation right now is the price is so high, but the quality is actually going down. So I already like a big buyer, like a trader, things like that, that actually said they buy whatever the price of the beans, whatever the quality of the beans. So this is the first time in my life that I see the quality of cacao beans, like it's not beans for me, but people buy very high for that price. Doesn't make sense. And they just like buy everything, and like I will say industrial, no matter what, it just depends on when they're gonna increase, because like of course like their capital is much bigger compared to the small maker like us, right? So it's just like the time when they're gonna increase, or if they're not increase, we also need to see like what kind of chocolate that they made. Like if you compare chocolate with 20 or maximum 30% cacao with 100% cacao, then it's gonna be totally different, because like the main ingredient is the cacao. So in terms of price, so gonna be very different. That's the thing.
I actually heard someone the other day say one of the solutions possibly for this issue is because not everyone's going to be able to afford the cacao prices going forwards, but they still have a product to put out. So they might just get very creative and start to synthesize, all the ingredients in the labs, and actually there'll be zero cacao, but it'll still be a chocolate bar, kind of like how white chocolate is, but it'll be the dark chocolate version. And it's definitely not going to be a cacao chocolate, but that's definitely maybe one solution. It's not necessarily what we are interested in and working with the ceremonial space, but I'm just talking about the more commercial brands that have so much production going out there. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Olivia, any other things that you feel is important to address, to mention while we're on the chat?
I'm actually curious more about like what is your perspective, or what is your community perspective about this, because when we talk about ceremonial cacao, we talk about integrity, we talk about fairness inside, and it's like basically this is what we do to, how do you say it, like using it as a gratitude and things like that. And then like with this kind of situation, what is your perspective with all of this right now?
So if I understand your question, it's probably asking, would anything change in how we work with the cacao, and how we grade it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I still think there's a place for the, more and more so actually, for people to know the difference between chocolate that you're going to get in the supermarket, the commodity version of cacao, and then the sacred way of working with cacao. And even to try and create some kind of an association to protect the term ceremonial cacao, and have some kind of defining guidelines on what that actually is, so people can start to learn and be educated. And then they're more likely, when they understand something, to make a more informed decision and be discerning. So rather than just look at the price when they go buy something, to go, hold on, let me just ask a few questions here, read the back of the label, maybe phone or email or Instagram DM the supplier, and just to try and get a feeling of, is this an integrity? Is this ethical? Is there still a relationship, like we're talking, right? There's a relationship, you and me, there's a relationship between you and the cooperative and the farmers and the communities. And that's important for me. So I will still stand and back all of this up of ceremonial grade cacao. We work within the sacred way. It means that there must be harmony between the people that are involved all the way through, from the farmers to me here sitting in South Africa now. And there must also be harmony between the farmers, the cacao growing communities at large, and the land. And that's why I just love working with you and with the communities in Bali, because like you say, every day, that's the first thing they do. They wake up and they're doing their gratitude prayers and their rituals. And it's giving thanks to Mother Nature. And it's such a different way of working with cacao than just going to enjoy a treat in the supermarket. And I think there's many other things that chocolate, on the commercial side, we could have other treats. There's many other options we have nowadays for a sugary delight. So perhaps this whole crisis is a blessing in disguise, because it's an opportunity for us to do a little bit more education, and for people to start appreciating cacao for its sacredness again, because that's how it always used to be before, it traveled across the globe, and largely through colonialization, and things being taken back to Europe, and the spread from there. So that's my opinion. I do believe that it is a terrible short-term scenario we're in now, but it could potentially be a blessing that we have an opportunity here. So I would say even more reason for us to have these conversations, to join other conversations, to talk to our, for you customers, for me the students, and people that come to my ceremonies, people that ask, well, why is the price so high? I can just go and get this online. Somebody else says ceremonial grade cacao. I'm like, okay, is it ceremonial grade cacao? Just ask these questions. Do you know the supplier or the farmers or the cooperative? What is the conditions on the land? What's the farming practices like? Is there reciprocity between the people and the land? Is there a reciprocity and a respect between the farmers, the cooperative, the buyers? And then, is that cacao actually processed on the land? Or are the beans shipped to Europe or South Africa or wherever and then done here? Because that means that the actual communities are losing out, and that energy isn't carried through completely. So I think all of this in the cacao space is also going to mean that we can advocate more for small scale farming, where I don't know, small scale farming, relationship, integrity, reciprocity.
And like what I see right now is more about, like, since cacao going up, like the price of cacao going up, then like if people are willing to spend that much, then it must be for the quality. Because if there's still a cheap cacao before, the cheap cacao will also increase price, right? Because it doesn't make sense the same price like before. But when it's increased the price, doesn't mean their quality also increase. So when you need to buy something expensive, why don't just go to something with a good quality? Why you try to make something lower, but it's still expensive no matter what?
Yeah, exactly. So that, I think we're in a very interesting time now because, like you say, even the quality overall is lowering. But so even more important then that the other processes from the time that the harvest has been done, even more important that those processes are with the highest integrity, because that at least is going to keep some of that quality going through. Yeah. Anything else you feel to share?
From my side, I think that's it. Like, if you have other question or like want to know more things, like I always open for discussion. Like, we pretty much open for any kind of question.
Yeah. Well, I think what I'm going to do is put some information out after this chat and just see if whoever has been listening to this or watched the recording, if there are any questions, any specific questions, and perhaps we have you back for more of a different chat linked into this. Yeah. So thank you so much, Olivia. I think I just wanted to highlight that people must just prepare themselves.
Yes.
You and me at least have been aware of this for some time now, so it is still a shock because it's a steep increase. It's a really steep increase, but at least we kind of know where it's coming from. Where somebody that maybe is buying cacao directly from you or from us at Cape Cacao, all of a sudden the prices are going to go up. That's the reality if we want to keep supplying the cacao. So it's just to kind of forewarn them, give them a little bit of information as to why. So that was kind of the main idea for today. But yeah, let's see, maybe we can have you back for another chat. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I'll see you in person in a few months' time in Bali.
Let me know.
I'll let you know. So thank you, Olivia. You are welcome to leave the conversation, just exit out, and then I'm just going to give a little bit of a summary as to what we've discussed here, but I won't keep you any longer. So thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So that's the beautiful Olivia. We've been working together for some years now, and whenever I go to Bali for my own cacao pilgrimage, I go visit her, and then we also arrange to go to the cacao farms, which is quite a trek. It's a good drive, many hours into the jungle, into the western side of Bali, Jembrana. It's very much the non-touristy place, and a lot of the farms there are actually they're wild farms, so the cacao is actually wild harvested. There's a few that have been planted, but it's just a lovely community. So there's a few small-scale farmers that then are part of the cooperative, and we also go visit the cooperative. So that's where the farmers have to take their harvest, and they go to the cooperative, and then as a collective, they've already decided on the price and on their market price, which is very different to the commercial industry, where the price is kind of dictated to the cooperatives and the farmers, and they have to meet that. So it kind of forces them into a corner if they're desperate and they start to cut corners, and they're kind of forced into malpractice. Whereas in Bali, it's completely the opposite. It's, hey, let's live off the land, let's love the land loves us, we love the land. We have cacao harvest, we take what we have, because we're not reliant only on cacao, we have a lot of other fruit that grow together. So when it's not cacao harvest, it's papaya harvest, or it's banana harvest, or it's cinnamon harvest, or it's mangosteen harvest, or whatever it is. And that's the idea with a healthy environment. So then they take the cacao when the cacao harvest happens, and they take it to the cooperative, and they've all collectively already decided on the price. So they're very happy with what they get. And then the fruit stays at the cooperative, and then people from the community are employed by the cooperative. And like Olivia said, it's very traditional still. There's not machines and factories that process the cacao from there. The first part of the cacao processing, if I can just use that word, the natural processing or the traditional processing, is to open up the fruit pods, take out the seeds, which have their lovely flesh around them still, and they go into these wooden vats. There are quite a few of them, all in a line and on top of each other, and the whole toot. And those are kind of under a little bit of a roof, but it's open on the sides. And there's a fermentation process that happens, and the cacao goes through 2 rounds of fermentation. So that's monitored just with a little thermometer that's stuck in, and lots of notes being recorded by hand, and it's just amazing to see that whole process and how they turn the cacao beans so that the temperature also starts to be a bit more uniform than if it just had to sit. And that takes about 7 days, but like Olivia is saying, even this is affected by the climate now because it's the humidity and the temperature that can't be relied on. So after fermentation happens, then those beans are taken out onto massive big drying tarpaulins or racks, which is just out in the sun. So as soon as it starts to rain, it's the tropics, it happens most days. Then as soon as it starts to rain, then these tarpaulins or these long tables are dragged in under that roof shelter. They wait for the rain to clear, and then they drag it back out. And some days it might rain the whole day, so the cacao isn't going to be dried. So in an ideal situation, this would take no longer than a week, but as Olivia is saying, sometimes it's been a month now in patches. So while there might be a harvest of the fruit and the fermentation is fine, let's just say those two processes are fine, then the drying doesn't happen. So there are kind of systems in place now to start to get little greenhouses going. So at least they don't have to worry about the rain, but it's a slow process because there's only X amount of funds available, so they can do one at a time, and it's all manually built, and they've still got to carry on with the drying process. So once that's all done, the beans are dried, then they go to be sorted, and largely it's the women that do this from the communities, and they just sort out the good beans, the bad beans on that. The bad beans go back to the land and the chickens, and create the compost as well for the rest of the trees, and then the good beans are then sold per bulk order, and that's where Olivia comes in. She also goes and quality controls the beans, and then she takes it back to the small little workshop, and then they have a small machine there. It's a ball mill grinder, so the heat is again monitored, but it just speeds up the process of somebody having to sit and hand grind like this, which would take absolute ages. So that machine does it for them. They take it into the nibs, and then from there they take it to another small machine, and then that grinds it down into the liquid gold that oozes out, and then that sets again whatever molds they put it in, like caging molds or bigger sometimes, other places into bricks. Then that's what we call that ceremonial-grade cacao. The whole process, the whole time has been preyed upon. There's a respect to the land. So it's just, it's wonderful to go and actually experience that process firsthand. And to be able to speak directly to the communities and ask them how it is, how the conditions are, do they enjoy what they do, and just talk to people. It's, yeah, it's really important for me to know that there is this integrity, people are happy with what they're doing, therefore the energy in the cacao is also really great. So not only just the quality of it, but the energetic component is so important. So integrity all around. So just a summary of what we discussed is there is now, because of climate change largely, but also social and political kind of influences, but let's just speak largely to the climate of climate change. The weather is less predictable, it's more erratic, and this means that the harvest is also kind of all over the show within a year. The harvest is also not producing as much. This is across the globe, and that means that there's going to be less cacao by the end, so less of the beans available, because in all three of these phases, roughly, of the fruit being produced on the trees, that's lowering. Then the fermentation, that's also lowering, and the drying, that's lowering. It's lowering the result of the yield, right? So what's available to us at the end. There's still demand across the world for cacao, for chocolate. And that demand is increasing. So while the demand is increasing, the production is decreasing. This massive gap means that the prices are skyrocketing. And we've already started to notice this. Olivia gave some figures per ton of the commodity spaces with cacao. I think she said beginning of 2023 it was 2,000 per ton USD. That went up to then 3,000-4,000 by the end of that year. At the beginning of this year, it went to 4,000 or 5,000, I think she said. In the last month, it has jumped to almost 10,000. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy increases. So, family, what that means for us is we're still going to be supporting the farmers that are getting less and less, but they still are doing everything from their heart They're just getting less of the cacao in, but they are, whatever they're able to get in, they still go through the same process. It's just that there's less coming out that's available for Olivia, who we've just chatted to be able to then take that into the solid blocks that we work from. So there is going to be a price increase because we've got a long-standing relationship with her. She's going to prioritize the cacao coming to us. It is going to be more expensive, but that's just the reality of it. And I know this is going to impact all of us, so we all just have to maybe support each other and just share the information, understand why, and maybe that means that some of us won't be able to get as much cacao as we are used to every month, or maybe we're prepared to pay the higher price. We're hoping it's not going to be something permanent, but nobody can predict the weather with climate change. No one wants to even put any predictions on that. So that's just the reality now. I know it's not great news, but just know that we're doing our best here to continue to keep the integrity high, to work with the people that we really do love and like to support. We feel it's important that we're buying from people where in the Balinese market, specifically working through Olivia, they make sure that 25% of a sale goes back to the farmers, goes back to the communities. That's massive. I mean, in the big industries, it's like around 1%, maybe a little bit more, maybe even a little bit less. So this is really important to us. So we are prepared to put our prices up. Just to let you know that that's what's going to be happening in the very near future, as soon as we can get our next shipment in. We've also been waiting for some time for that because, again, there's just less available. So as soon as that's going to be coming your way, we will let you know. But for now, don't worry, we still have our cacao at the original price, and we still have quite a bit. So just letting you know a little bit of what's happening behind the scenes in the cacao world and how that is going to be impacting us all as consumers if we enjoy chocolatey treats, and specifically those of us that work in the ceremonial space that do get the cacao through Cape Cacao. All right, everyone, sending you much love. I'm going to go and enjoy a really delicious cup of mama cacao now myself, with so much more appreciation, actually, for everybody that's just doing their best, not cutting corners, supporting each other, and just that love, relationship building, community, reverence, and integrity that we can always just infuse and have gratitude for when we are working with our cacao. So, much love, and my heart to yours.